It's interesting to be with you today because I think there are a lot of things that I can help you with as far as maximizing some of the investment that you've already made within your organizations, particularly at this level of being executive managers, that you can take back to your organizations and actually utilize these systems actually better. What I'm going to be discussing with you is really looking at this oversight and our overall quality that is necessary for these global trials. So, as you know and has been already discussed, the more you branch out away from your organization, the more complex the situation becomes, particularly when it comes to your regulatory understandings with the FDA and other regulatory groups around the world. The FDA is working very closely with the different regulatory groups around the world to have a unified methodology for actually auditing and inspecting. But what is extremely important for you to know is that you need to take care of setting up your parameters here at home first as you're actually branching out. And that's really the area that I want to share my expertise in talking with you today. So the reality is, as executive management, that burden's going to come from the United States government and it's going to come to you. So as a leader of your organization, what you need to be asking yourself is, how do you really know the status of your trials from quite a distance? I myself have worked on global trials all over the world. We send auditors all over the world. It's a complex task. Even just getting there is a complex task. So as we go through this burden that you have with oversight and with your quality and maintaining the quality that you need for your application, I want to try to help you understand, how do you know the status of your organization? So if we take a moment and pause and look at some of the feedback the agency has been given sponsors. We do a lot of sponsor audits, we do a lot of CRO audits, and I can tell you these are pretty consistent with what we see. So the first is, usually the top finding for sponsors is the failure to properly monitor your trial. So I just want to be real realistic with you. I have no clue how much money you guys put into monitoring. I can make a very educated guess and how expensive that process is. I think if you looked at your organizations on the clinical drug development side, that's probably a big portion of where you sink your funds into, whether you're using a CRO or your own in-house staff. However, I can tell you from being in the industry on a daily basis, whether it's drugs, biologics, or medical devices, it's not effective. It is not effective. So if there's one message that I want to deliver to you on the behalf of the FDA, is the FDA knows that. That's why it's being communicated in official warning letters. So from this point forward, I think you really need to take back to your organizations, how do we fix our monitoring process as well as our auditing process? And I'm going to talk to you about that. I'm currently working on an orphan drug. Fantastic orphan drug being developed. I go in at the end of the study, we're doing the audits of this clinical investigator, expert in his field, absolute expert in his field. We go out and we find out that over 90% of the data provided was provided by an individual that had a high school diploma. I kid you not. And even if he was involved, as he said that he was, it wasn't documented so that he could actually prove it. So my part is to step back and to say, well, how long have you known about this problem, sponsor? And when you look at it, the monitoring process had alerted that organization from the very beginning, first monitoring visit, to up until the audit actually occurred, that these were concerns. So when you start asking yourself about signaling, when do you need to know, what do you need to know, and what are those signals? That's what we're missing in good clinical practices. Many of you who may come from a good manufacturing background, you know that there are things that you QC for during the production of a product. You're doing the same thing here. You're manufacturing a drug. You just happen to be testing it during the development stage inside of a human subject. When I look at where we're going in the speed that we're going globally, if you do not have set processes in place to know the status of your organization, you're going to have trouble in your filings. That's all that there is. The success of the fillet of fish is that it comes with 2 buns, a square piece of fish, a piece of cheese, tartar sauce, and a crinkly piece of paper every time you go through McDonald's. Now you can change it a little bit. You might remove the tartar sauce or ask for less, but you still end up with the same 2 buns, a square piece of fish, and a piece of cheese. So your organization, every time you do a trial, you really shouldn't be inventing new processes and procedures to redo that trial all over again. And that's what I feel like sometimes when I'm working with certain organizations, that disease groups are in silos and they're all doing their own thing. But you know what? One group may have fantastic standard operating procedures, but they're not sharing them with another group because they're really not operating as an organization, and that's your job. That's executive management's job, is to run a company consistently like a fillet of fish. So if there's anything that I can really have you to take from this is, you can secure compliance and you can have a successful application. I don't want anything that can happen in a trial to come back and hurt the opportunity for new drugs to be on the marketplace that need to be there. And so, and you for also your organization's commitment to making those products available, it's going to be a real problem for you in the application process if you cannot know the status of your organization. And that's what I'm hearing from the agency and the top things that are coming out, and you can expect new quality systems regulations, and you can expect them to turn the pressure back on you to say, how are you going to control 39 countries over 200,000 subjects overseas?